Welcome back to Citizens Forum. This is the last segment. I'm Will Smith, and I'm here with Barrett R. Blackwood and Chica today. And we're going to be talking about resilient neighborhoods, permaculture, and a concept that Barrett calls the sidewalk salad bar. And we have some pictures that I'll put up on the screen as well as we're talking to show you this one of the installations right here. So Barrett, welcome to the show, and welcome Chica. So tell us about this. When did you start thinking about the sidewalk salad bar?
Well, the sidewalk salad bar is something that's been growing over the many years. Currently located at my home at 2000 Chambers, which is located in sunny Fernwood there. So the sidewalk salad bar is just where we grow everything a person would need for a salad or could make a salad from on the boulevard in front of the house, so that as people walk past in front of the house, they can pick a salad as they walk past in front of the house.
And do you encourage that, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's hard to get people to pick the vegetables because it seems everyone in my neighborhood are quite maybe over polite.
Yes.
So they hesitate to pick the vegetables there, but I run into folks as they walk past in front of the house quite a bit and educate them about that it's there for them to pick. And
so we wanted to talk about this because we have this concept that I was talking about with Nick Poeta about resilient neighborhoods, about getting together with your neighbors and you know, getting to know them and doing some gardening. Maybe there are some things that you can share, and gardens are a good conversation starter. I walked by your house today and took a couple of pictures, which I'm putting up, but I live right near you. I live about 2 blocks away, and my wife and I have actually done that before, where we say, what do you want to eat tonight? And we'll say, well, I saw some nice kale over on Chambers. Let's go over there, and we've actually done that, and it's kind of funny. We've just done it just to sort of prove the point that you could do this. So
yeah, I have kale and at least a dozen other things that grow wild in my yard. So tomatoes, edible flowers.
Miner's lettuce, probably.
There's all kinds of stuff that grows wild in my yard.
Yeah. So now the other thing is that, you know, this is known as the Garden City, and some of the things that you were mentioning today I didn't know about. You were mentioning about an installation down on Fort Street or near there, and then a building that's being built for seniors that has a garden on top. Could you talk about those things? Because I don't think everybody knows about these things.
Yeah, I think when you mentioned Fort Street there, you're talking about the Hub community space, where
Right.
we're building a bit of a community garden in the back there. There's an empty space in behind the retail space there.
So what's that going to be about?
Well, it's a temporary use of the space. There's a development happening there. In the meantime, we've been granted use of 829 Fort Street to run a community space there where various nonprofit groups can come and use the space for activities free of charge. But in the back, there's quite a bit of space in behind that store there, and so we are just making vegetables and flowers and stuff and doing a bit of a temporary garden space back there.
So that's just sort of to reclaim the land rather than to try to teach, or what?
Yeah, it's more of a promotional thing.
Okay.
From my perspective. I give away hundreds and hundreds of plants every year. So at my home that you mentioned there on Chambers, we give away a lot of vegetables, but we also give away a lot of starter plants. So we'll start hundreds of little tomato plants in the early spring and then give them away to people as they pass by in front of the house, try to get them to grow vegetables or whatever type of food on their balcony, windowsill, front porch, anywhere where they have some space. So yeah, the sidewalk salad bar just was a natural fit for the Hub community space.
So it's the same. It's an extension of the same thing.
Yeah, everything there is potted, so we're not really growing in the ground there.
Oh, okay.
Everything's potted from my home, transported down there. It's more of a promotional thing. So people using the Hub over the summer, they'll see those vegetable plants and get discussion about it going.
So what about you were telling me about a development that's going to have gardens
Yeah,
on
so
the roof?
at that location,
that's
on
the
Fort
same
Street,
location.
there's a proposed development happening there. And my understanding is on the rooftop of that development is going to be some urban food production.
So this is the thing that I like about this is these are things, maybe not the garden on top of the building, but these are things that individuals are doing, and every individual can do this. And so you can see if you drive around Victoria, there are garden spaces developing. People are converting their lawns
On boulevards and
on boulevards. Yeah, and
all kinds of
little spaces. I mentioned this previously, but when Carolyn and I were driving around one Sunday, we saw these people. I think it was a half a dozen people, and they just had a sign that said, "Somebody has to do something," and they were making a grassy space that was just a little unused grassy space into a garden. I really like that activity because I think it actually does more than we think. It's not televised, it's not reported in the news as being especially significant, but the fact that people are stopping what they're normally doing and getting their hands dirty, because we were talking about this, that if you're getting your hands in the dirt, that's actually antidepressants that happen to you.
Yeah, it's very therapeutic.
It's very
It is.
therapeutic.
Anyone who gets their hands in the dirt knows this.
So you don't need to take a bunch of prescription drugs to be not
right.
depressed. You can just make a garden and dig in it and plant some plants.
Yeah, and to go along with that point, I'll just mention that when I'm gardening out in front of my house, I meet literally hundreds and hundreds of people passing by in front of my house where they stop and chat with me, and we talk about gardening, vegetable production, that kind of stuff. Whereas normally they wouldn't necessarily have stopped. There's this community interest happening at that moment. And then another group of people will come from the other direction, and they'll see those other people stopped, and the next thing you know, there's a crowd in front of my house.
Oh, this is great.
And sharing vegetables and trading plants. And I also keep a seed bank year to year to spite Monsanto.
Do you go to CD Saturday?
No, I just have my own.
have
I have my own personal seed bank that I keep with the Victoria Horticulture Society. Has helped me in the past with this. Building Resilient Neighborhoods, which is a provincial program, has granted me a few micro grants.
Oh, great.
For my garden to buy supplies and seeds and things. And so there's a lot of recognition. I get what you're saying, that without a main big event, there's no real recognition, but the event is really thousands of people if you go over the few years of time and
Sure.
all the people that have been affected by it.
No, I just mean that it's invisible. It's sort of like
Yeah.
ants working under something, and
like unsung heroes or
Yeah,
whatever.
so this is the exciting thing, is that if you look at the world. I mean, I used to go home from the show sometimes just kind of freaked out, because there's so much bad stuff going on. But if we look at these good things, and that people are responding to the call of the world is changing, and maybe not in a direction that is sustainable, that we can each do something. So how, if I'm watching the show tonight and I wanted to, I like this concept of the sidewalk salad bar, where would you recommend that somebody starts? At the bookstore, or was there something else, YouTube,
Well,
or what?
Despite all appearances, I'm not actually that good of a gardener. I'm just a determined gardener. So I'll grow hundreds of tomato plants and then pick the best one, So I don't claim to be an authority, really, on the subject.
But where do you start? Or maybe the
But I would
compost center?
say, right across the street from my house is the Spring Ridge Commons,
Right.
which is a community effort there that has all kinds of edible plants in there.
Oh,
It looks
right.
just like an overgrown bit of forested area in the city, but it's really actually quite well laid out, and it's full of a lot of edible plants that you wouldn't think were edible. You'd have to take a tour through there, somebody who knows. And then a block to the south of there is the compost center,
Right.
compost education center. And then halfway between my house and going down to the hub community space, there's a city-run community garden right there on Yates Street.
Oh,
right
yes, I've seen that.
Right at Yates. So kudos to the city for doing that.
So you can get information there, or you can see some
Yeah,
stuff growing.
I think all of those places are you can learn. Like, you could theoretically show up at my house when I'm gardening in my front yard, and I could teach you about the plants I'm growing.
Okay.
Which I do a lot of that impromptu discussions.
That sounds great. I mean, that just
yeah.
sounds exactly what I'm talking about. Is that if you're out there, gardening, that you attract other people who are interested.
Yeah, I think
in
it's
that.
contagious. And I think, like just today, before I came down to the community hub this morning there, just today, I talked to several people in front of my house. They stop and they say, oh, nice garden, or that's cool, or what kind of plant is that, or whatever. You get to chatting about it. And then once a week or so for the rest of the summer, the Sidewalk Salad Bar will put an actual vegetable stand in front of my house.
Oh.
So besides the stuff you can pick there in front of my house, all the good stuff, which is grown in the backyard, like peppers and things like that, we put a vegetable stand in front of the house, which is free. There's no charge to it, and people can, when they're walking by, they just help themselves to these vegetables.
Nice.
And we'll often put a lot of little baby starter plants there, so people on their way home can get a tomato plant. So I'm sure I've had an effect on people's gardening efforts.
I'm sure
well
you have.
beyond I could know.
Yeah.
Because I come home from work at the end of the day and all those vegetables and all those little plants are gone, and I didn't meet those people. So I always wonder, where did all those plants go? I know they're out there in the community somewhere.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's really quite contagious, and you know, I could go on all day telling the stories that happened in front of my house because of that.
Great. Well, we're out of time, but thank you so much for coming on the show, and I wish you a lot of luck with getting people in the hub to do some community activities.
Yeah, maybe we can do an episode on that.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. All right. So thank you for watching this episode of Citizens Forum.